This is part 2 of the OSC Practice sort of instructions tutorial. So in this tutorial, we are sending from Super Collider to change something in processing. The first one we sent from processing to change something in Super Collider. Really, I guess the principle here really is that you can use this protocol OSC to send messages between programs on your computer or to other programs and other computers. So it's really a messaging system that allows you a pretty great deal of flexibility, remote control. So it's good to just get some practice using this in these two, because we're going to do it a lot in these sets of tutorials. So to send a message, I have to it's pretty straightforward in Super Collider. I have to create a net address, a place I'm sending to. So we'll just do n equals net addr. Okay, and then it's just looking for the host name. So that's the host IP. So if it's my computer, in double quotes, 127.0.0.1, that's the local host. And then the port, I think I set it up as 12321. That's the port number, and that I just defined in processing. Okay, and then I'm just going to send a message, n.send MSG with a capital. And the first thing I want is the OSC address, or the name I'm going to send to. So I'm going to say move X, because I know I'm going to do something to move the X. And then any variables or arguments I want to include. In this case, it's going to just be an X value. I'll put 200 there. You'll get the idea once you understand. Okay. But now, as far as Superlight Collider is concerned, you don't have to make a bunch of new net addresses. You just have the one, because n will always send to this place. And you can just create a bunch of more messages, and that's what I would have you do. But you'll see when we get to it, you'll create another n.send message, move y maybe, or n.send change color, or something like that. Okay. In processing, it's slightly more involved. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to draw a rectangle, and then I'm going to move it using remote OSC messages. I'm not going to go back over the setup we did in the last tutorial, just setting up OSC, having a sender and a receiver. Okay. Now, if you go to the examples here, and you go to OSC send receive, you'll see they use this function. It's not too different from, say, mouse pressed or key press. It's a sort of a reserve function here, and then you can receive these messages and parse them. Okay, but I'm not going to use that method. I'm going to just jump right into this plug method, because it's a lot more straightforward once we understand what's going on. There is an example file here, but I'll just explain it to you. So what the plug does is it's a forwarding system. It receives a message, and then it forwards it to a function that you define yourself. All right. So the first thing, let's do some preliminary things first before we get too ahead of myself. I'm just going to draw a rectangle. So I'm going to go background 0, and then I'm going to do no stroke. Oh wait, no fill maybe. I'll just create those white squares, no fill, and then stroke weight. Say 3, and then stroke color white 255. Okay, and then I'm going to make a rectangle, and I'll just have it start at x0. Oh, so I'm going to make that a variable, so I can change that variable. So let's make an integer here on root, so outside of any of the curly brackets, int, and we'll call it x, and we'll make the initial value 0. Okay. So here we're going to create a rect at x, whatever that is. It happens to be 0 right now. And say at y equals, say, 100. And then whatever, we'll make it, say, 100 by 100. Okay. So if we run that, you'll see it draws that square. Okay. Now, in order to move that, we just have to change the value of x. So I can do that using OSC. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function here, and to create a function you just simply use the word void and whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to say move x, name of my choosing. I have to have these parentheses for arguments, and then the curly brackets, and that's my function. Okay. Now the arguments will come in, or I should say the arguments that are to come in your function should be defined up here. Not too different from the arguments in Superlight Collider. It's the ones you change from the outside. So I'm going to make an integer, and I'm going to call it ax. Okay. So whatever ax is going to be passed in to my function. And I simply have to say x, which is my integer here that's always going to be, the rectangle always be drawn at that x, equals ax. Okay, so I created just a little function that's taking in a thing and then changing it. So if I wanted to run the function, I can just run it here. Oh, I have to run it before, actually. I can run it before the rect and say, what I say, move x. This is how I run it within processing, move x, and I'll just gonna make the ax 300. Okay, and watch, if I run that, it moves it to 300 instead of 0. Okay, so I just use that function to change that. So we don't need that because we're going to change that with OSC. So I have a function now that works to move the x, that takes in a variable, whatever I want to call it. Now this is where the plug comes in. Okay, so a plug is like a forwarding service, and you call it by going osc.plug. Okay, and they're going to be in these parentheses. And the first argument it takes is its scope, I guess, just like this. So we're going to call it this, which is root, which is everything. All right. And the first argument is the function. Let's see. Am I getting this right? Am I getting this mixed up? But I think this is right. It's the name of the function in quotes that you want to forward to. So I call that move x, right? And we can just verify that move x. It's that term right there. So move x. And then the third argument, I guess, is the OSC address that's going to forward to that. So it's not too different from the OSC def in Superlight Collider. It's the address you're listening for. And remember, don't forget the slash. It's going to be move x as well. So just be consistent. Okay, so now when this plug receives a message move x, it's going to forward everything to this function move x. Now the only thing you have to make sure we harmonize is it's just going to take in whatever data comes in with it, but it's only going to forward it if it matches this integer. So if we send just move x, it's not going to work. If we send move x with, say, a float, it's not going to work. So it has to be move x and one integer that's being sent. Okay, and that's what we have here. So we have a net address. So if we run that, okay, and it's got it 0, and we send this move x to, let's make this a little bit smaller. Oops. Oh, did I restart it? Yeah, there. See, it moved it over, and I can change it to, say, 600. It's going to move it over 600. Now, just notice if I change that data type to, say, 600.9 float, it doesn't do anything, or make it more, doesn't do anything. It won't forward unless that data type matches. Okay, or if I try to send it without the thing, it's not going to do anything. But if I send it with an integer 2, it's going to move that. All right, so that's pretty straightforward. So your job now is to create several more plugs. So what you'll do is you'll create more functions like this. Again, try to type it and not copy and paste. You'll create another one, void, maybe move y. Okay, something like that. Or you can, for example, make it bigger, and you'll need to give these variables. So let's say I want to make a width, int w equals, say, whatever it was, 50. Okay, and then I'd put w in here. And then I can make another function that would change w. And then I'll have to make another plug that, say change w or something like that, or chgw or something. And then I'll make another and send message. Remember, you don't have to make another n. You just need one sending machine, but you can create as many messages as you want. So you might have one that says n.send message, move y, and then an integer. end.send message chgw or something, and then change the width. Okay. There's all kinds of things you can do, but this will be good practice just for the sending and receiving this way. So I would do, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, several of those, just to get you used to the syntax and get those into your fingers. And the future coding, interactive coding, will be a lot easier. Okay, well, good luck with that.